We have a problem. Well, it says we're live. And we have a problem, Susan. I can't read anything off the screen because I've got one comment and then it says chat has been disconnected. How can they disconnect my chat? Susan. Good evening, everybody. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. You can't because I can't see your chat. I'm going to have to go over to... Honestly, I'm just a Yeti. That's not me. I'm like a split mattress. I didn't do my hair. It is me. Honestly, some of us, we just don't do it, mate. So we've got 17 people watching. Right, okay. So we've got 17 people watching. Right, okay. I'm watching myself on the screen. And I can actually see your comments on my iPad for some reason. But on my computer, unfortunately, I can't see anything. Richard Gould says good evening. Frank Casey, good evening. Gary Marriott, good evening. Michael McLaughlin, good evening. Greg Thompson, good evening. Graham Allison, good evening. Paul Matt, good evening. Karen Evans, good evening. Richard Gould, good evening. Simon Spruce, good evening. Julian Lees, good evening. Lynn Thompson, good evening. Pierre's in the house, good evening. Can't exactly miss seeing him, Karen. Come on, Sue, you're going to have to help me here. I'm running blind. I'm absolutely running blind. Robert McKnight, good evening. Mr. Bryce, good evening. Peter Piper, good evening. I'm not looking at myself down below.
You were asking, can you hear me? And Kieran said loud and clear, and we can see. And Richard goes, can't exactly miss seeing him, Kieran.
Disgraceful Richard Gould.
Good one, Richard.
Disgraceful Richard Gould. Honestly, I just don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. I'm embarrassed. Anyway, on that note, if I put that there, doesn't really help, does it?
Is he saying you're large?
Larger than life, that's what he's saying. Oh my God, I don't know what the hell's happening here. Can you see that there? It says, chat publicly as Corleone Gundogs, Christopher Upton. What the hell does that mean? Yeah, okay, get on with it. Something's going on here. I think they're trying to censor me. They're trying to censor me. Richard Gould, stop laughing, says Sue.
I think he said in a very polite way, you're large. They can't miss
larger than life. Anyway, on this note, we started drinking at 6 o'clock this evening. I had to stop for an hour because I thought if I come on here, I might speak the truth. So how are you all? Have you all had a good time? Well, I was trying to get a live feed going, so I'm going to come off the chat. I'm going to actually go blind here, and I'm going to go over to right, and I'm going to call somebody. Here we go.
Oh,
let's see what happens, shall we? Here we go. In for a penny, in for a pound, as they say. Just my luck, isn't it, really? What do you think about it? Well, I was contacting Rizwan Tor. Rizwan Tor doesn't sound like a Texan, does he? Doesn't quite sound like a Texan. Anyway, he was a member of Patreon. I don't think he's a member of Patreon anymore for some reason. Perhaps he didn't like my attitude. And it's a free world, isn't it? And if you don't like my attitude, you don't have to watch me, do you? It's as simple as that. But he gave me some advice about e-collar training. And he said it was a barbaric tool. And so I asked him for some input. And I thought he was going to come on and give us some input. So you'll have to bear with us, everyone. I don't know if anyone's seen anything barbaric in the Patreon group. Has anybody? I can actually see your comments. I've got my back onto YouTube on my iPad. So has anyone seen anything barbaric that I've been using the e-collar with? Have anybody seen me using the e-collar and not getting results? Not the tables, Carlos. Denver Skinner, good evening. Gary Marriott, beat you, Chris. I started at 5:56. I have a few days off. Yes, who's got another day off tomorrow? No, never. Wouldn't it have been polite if I'd known he was no longer a member? Wouldn't have been surprised if I'd known he's no longer a member. No, because at the end of the day, I don't mind debate, Gary. I don't mind debate. Good debate is great. But what I like to do, I like to check somebody out. And when I looked at his following that he got on YouTube and how he runs his business and how he technically, without being rude, he's a pimp, because he makes all his money off UK sires breeding that he buys in. And he was talking about that in America, they're having to breed harder Gundogs so they can go in harder with the e-collars and put e-collar on the back end of the dog as well as the neck. So it goes under the belly, just under the ball bag, just behind the ball bag. At the end of the day, we don't use anything like that. Now, we used to hang, drawn and quarter people, didn't we, years ago? And it wasn't that long, was it, really, if you think about it? It's a sad thing that that's had to stop, really, because it got rid of a lot of idiots, didn't it? If you think about it, hung, drawn and quartered. And they used to take your intestine out. Well, imagine me on a pole with freaking intestine out. Honestly, you would be sick. You would be sick, wouldn't you? And you could think, where's that come from, Upton? Well, we've just been watching Shakespeare. So we've just been watching a program on Shakespeare. So there you go. It's all in the head, isn't it? Hung, drawn and quartered. I bet that was fun in them days, wasn't it? If you pissed somebody off with outspoken, you said what you felt. And yet, we're going in that direction, aren't we? I'm not wearing that. What? Will it be frozen sperm? He has the actual dogs. No, he hasn't got the Field Trial Champions. What he's done, Richard, he imported stuff because then he can start making money off the puppies. So what he needs to do, he needs to pretend that he knows what he's talking about. But unfortunately, when you look at his YouTube site, and he hasn't got many subscribers, you could help him out. But when you watch his videos, how poor they are, I don't think you should be giving advice on anything to do with dog training. Anything. Now, I totally understand if he's against e-collars, but he's not against e-collars. He uses e-collars, but he says that their way is better. Well, I've got to argue this, that there was an American guy and an English guy going down the road in the car. And the American guy looked at a church and he says, in America, our churches are 5 times bigger than that. Oh, yeah. And he went down the road a little bit further. He said, the football stadiums, we've got massive stadiums. Our stadiums are 10 times bigger than that. He says, see that park? He says, we've got parks massive. He says, everything in America is bigger, isn't it? Bigger and better, right? And then he goes a little bit further down the road and he says, that building there, he says, it's old, isn't it? He says, yes, it's old. He says, we've got buildings not that old because we haven't been there as long as you in England, but we've got them far bigger than that. And the bloke says, yeah, that's our local nut house. I think that joke sums up some of the Americans, really, doesn't it, when you think about it? And I have some good friends and some good training colleagues in America, but by God, there's some freaking Billy bullshitters, isn't there? But then again, we have Billy bullshitters in this country as well, don't we? So at the end of the day, full of shite, some of them. So I've looked into this guy because I actually had conversations with him. And he said, I come onto your group and I love Patreon and it's a fantastic group. I've learned so much. And then he starts giving me lectures in the group on Patreon about e-collar training. And I shouldn't be advertising the tool as it's barbaric and people shouldn't be being put in that direction to use e-collars. Well, I can tell you straight, if you say it the way it is, you're not going to become very popular. So I don't use e-collars. I've never used an e-collar, and I'm never going to use an e-collar. Well, then I'd be lying, wouldn't I? But I told you straight, when I first started using e-collars, I was very skeptical about them, but I'd watched other people. I'd taken the time to educate myself with the knowledge I already had, and knowing the ways to train without an e-collar. I started experimenting using other people's methods that I'd watched and enjoyed and thought, wow, that's a different approach. And then I moved forward with educating myself very gingerly, although I'm not ginger, I'm grey, very gingerly, trying to take it in a direction and see if we can get results. Now, the group's here. Half of the people in the live chat tonight. We've got 37 people in the live chat. You're in the group. Have you seen anything to do with the e-collar that you think, oh, there's no way on this earth that you should be using an e-collar on a dog like that, because you're drying the dog up, you're suppressing the dog's behavior to the point the dog is shit scared to do anything? Or have you seen good results, happy clients, and people learning through the videos? Thank you so much. Exactly, Graham. Alison, good comment. Every client has been filmed being instructed in the collar and has been well taught to use the tool correctly. Exactly. And that is the whole point. We record everybody who comes here. Don't have the video up, people don't. But for my own safety, no one can accuse me. Well, they can, but they can't prove that I've been cruel and nasty to any dog, because I've got the video evidence stored, saved for my own protection. Because if you're going to talk about discipline and using corrections on dogs and showing it, then you have to show that you're a compassionate, decent person who has a care of duty, and also you're willing to put your head above the parapet. As simple as that. As simple as that. Now, what I would say to people is, do you need an e-collar? No, you don't. You don't need an e-collar. Hi, Chris. Hope you're well. Hang on, he's here. Hi, Chris. Hope you're well. With you and Sue. Hang on. Let's have a look. Let's just have a look. We got a message from him. Let's see if you would like to go live. Hi, Chris. Hope all is well. You and Sue. Thanks for reaching out to me, but I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to participate. However, I can recommend someone you might want a great. Is Robert Miller. DuckHillKennels.com. He has written books on positive training, etc. Well, I don't want to talk to him then, do I really? He's written books on positive training. Well, Rizwan, you're obviously watching YouTube. I'm giving you a chance to come on live and debate with us, because what I don't like people, saying one thing but doing another. And the first message you ever sent me in August 2021. Hi, Chris. This is how American dogs look today. 2 e-collars, 1 regular collar. This is a small 35-pound dog. And I said to you, the world has gone mad. Right? Because we don't do that in the UK. Because not everything American is brilliant. I know in America, everybody thinks everything American is brilliant. And I'm not bashing our friends across the pond, but I've watched many American trainer, gun dog trainer, as well as dog trainer, and not been impressed with far more than I've watched. As simple as that. And so I was giving you a platform to come on and talk about why you decided to tell me that I have no experience, when I've already said, and I've never lied to anyone, I've been working the e-collar for about 2.5 years. Before that, I used to condemn it as an evil tool, because I've seen idiots using it and damaging dogs in the past 20 years ago. So I wasn't in the circle of the development of how people have moved forward with e-collars. But I'm not blind. I open my eyes and I look for a better way of training dogs than racing out, grabbing hold of them and bringing them back and squaring them up when they don't listen to you.
They've got connectivity issues.
Who's got connectivity issues?
Richard, Karen.
Oh no! Perhaps they're trying to.
Karen's distorted now, but Peter Piper did say refresh with the live button, guys. So whether they're doing that,
just refresh with the live button and you won't miss a thing.
Refresh the age and issues fixed. There you go. Karen said, so everybody else do the same, please.
Yeah. So Rizwan Tour. This is not a bitch fight between you and me. This is a platform for you to promote your business, that you're saying that you are a dog trainer. Now, let's have a look, Rizwan, at your profile. Let's have a look at your profile. Managing Director at Adora Kennels. How about that? Advertising for you. Advertising for you. From Houston, Texas. Highland Ranch, Colorado. Beautiful. Beautiful. So, see information about, we go into there and it says, there you are. Welcome to Adora Kennels. Source of impeccable sporting dogs. And what you've done is you've named everybody in the UK. Well, not everybody, but you've named UK people who've been very successful with their dogs. So you're taking breeding from the UK. How do you know that the breeding in the UK has softer or harder than the American lines? Because the American lines have always been harder. But what you're dealing with somebody who might only have 2.5 years knowledge with an e-collar, what he's been actually teaching people, but you're dealing with someone who's got 35 years experience dog training and has been all over the world. And when I looked at your videos, I got to be honest, I was not impressed.
It's more than 2.5 years, surely.
Well, it may be 3 years, so, but I haven't been using the e-collar for a long period of time. And he said he'd been using the e-collar since 2005. Well, watching your videos gives me insight into the way you train. As simple as that. Are we still having issues?
No, it looks like Peter Piper fixed it for them all.
Peter Piper fixed it all for all of them. We've only got 17 in the house. They've all dropped off. So unfortunately, you're not getting as many viewers as possible as we could have had. And it would have been lovely to have a debate, not a bitch fight, a debate. And you could have give everybody on here insight into your knowledge about running your kennels and your system, your setup. Because it says here, it's clear as day, that you run a ranch out in Texas. You've got your own kennels and you'd breed dogs. And it would be so interesting if you could come and chat to the group, because you obviously gave input on Patreon and you gave input and then disappeared. You then left Patreon. So you wanted to come in, give your input, but you weren't willing to debate. And I found that quite strange, really. I found it quite amusing, because I contacted you back and gave you feedback on what you said to me. And I think that it's great to talk. And just because you're one side of the pond and I'm the other side of the pond, technology gives us the access to each other, doesn't it? So quick. But it gives me so much access to everything. It shows me your portfolio. It shows me what you've got on the internet. Now, I understand completely that lots of people like to be on Instagram and Twitter and Tumblr and Pinset, and it's got your website here, but you ain't got that many followers on YouTube, have you, for some reason? And YouTube is not as easy to get the followers unless you've got something you can offer. So I'd like to talk to you, because you've obviously been training with e-collars since 2005, because I've shared a couple of your videos in the group, not in the World Wide Web, but in the group. Now, wouldn't it be wonderful if you had the balls? Because some of the Americans, they're big guys. They're supposed to have a lot of bollocks, aren't they? And well, they talk a lot of bollocks, some of them. But it would be wonderful, wouldn't it, if, and I've addressed you when you've asked me a question, so why not answer the phone and talk in a considerate, democratic way, and let's debate dog training. I'd never thought we'd have someone as outspoken as yourself hiding behind. Come on, you can hear it ringing. It's simple. So it's not going, it's not going to happen, is it?
Mr. Byer says, when was the e-collar first introduced to training?
I can go back 25 years and seeing boys with e-collars, and at the end of the day, I've seen lads who have won competition, and I've seen dogs that are not listening and running in and frying the living daylights out of dogs on rabbits in Scotland, in Yorkshire, right? And the dog is screaming as it's still chasing the rabbit, right? And I think to myself, hang on, why can't you train the dog without the e-collar for that situation? But in America, they train completely different with e-collars, and their attitude is completely different. And I like the Americans because most of them speak their mind. But unfortunately, Rizwan Tor likes to speak his mind in private. I mean, that's nice. I mean, I'm a huge supporter of you and learning a lot from you about dog training. Keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. Also, please add me to your Facebook friends, and I will send a friend's request. So I've invited him into my world, and he has every right to question and debate with me. But to try and throw me under the bus in a conversation about e-collars, then I'll give you a platform to debate with me. As simple as that. We don't need to fall out in any way, but it would have been good debate, because this is what we need. We need good debate. But people don't want to debate with someone who's so forward speaking as myself on a regular basis, do they? It's all right if everyone's happy with each other and pally with each other, but why can't people debate and have a disagreement of opinions? You put your side across and I put my side across, because I think that's the way forward. So one of the questions I asked, I shared one of let me just go into this off that, having a nasty go at what's anybody. Nick Gregory put up another video today, and I shared it in the group, and I thought it was great. And I said, if anyone can answer in the next 5 minutes, what do they see the difference in the two videos? There'll be a free squirrel skin as a prize in the next 5 minutes. And someone, I think Richard Gould came in and mentioned two things. And what you see, and I love what Nick said. And Nick said, 2 years of work in lab, in for one person. In one person lesson today, not recalling, jumping up at everybody who comes into the house, pulls like a train on the lead, basically self-employed. Exactly. How many times do we see this when they come in? With dog walker, even refusing to walk anymore. Previously been to a dog behaviorist who prognosis was a lot of nervous energy, major anxiety issues. She was then put on medication to treat the problems. Altogether has cost the client a small fortune. And the dog is no different. After a quick assessment, we stuffed our faces with treats and came to the conclusion that the lab was just taking the piss. Technical training term, right? Just lab was just taking the piss and needed training. Untitled Gundogs will hopefully soon be sponsored by Greg's the Bakers, and he put up 2 cream cakes. Now, I like Nick's sense of humour. He's got a sense of humour. He's a jokey lad. He's a good trainer. A good trainer knows what he's doing.
Not being funny, that's cruel to dogs, though, isn't it?
Right. See what Sue says? That's cruel to dogs. Dope them up on vet's medicine. Dog behaviorist. I'm a vet behaviorist. And what we can do, we can keep giving you sedative for your dog and calm it down. So the whole point is I put that up as a well done, Nick, because I support trainers who are good. I recommend trainers who are good. Nick Gregory's been to America. Nick Gregory's trained in America. Nick Gregory is a top trainer, right? So I can promote people, as well as when I see a Billy bullshitter, sometimes I have to call them out. I have to call them out sometimes. If you go after me, then watch out, because if you try to pretend you're something you're not, you may be surprised. I may make an example of you. Not all the time. You can't you can't bite every little dog that barks. And there's no need to be rude. There's no need to be offensive, but we can be direct. We can offend. We have the right to offend. We have the right to agree or disagree. I mean, you have the right to give your opinion. Your opinion would be valued in this group. And the reason I offered a squirrel skin, if people noted, when the first video of the dog pulling, if you looked at the tail action of the dog and then looked at the second video, the finished article, and you looked at the tail action of the dog, what's happened in between? It's the in-between point that's really important. And that's not having a go at Nick. Nick knows what he's doing. Nick runs his business the way he wants to run his business. But if you look at the dog's tail, when it was pulling, right, and what it was doing, the body movement of the dog, and then looked at the body movement of the dog once they were showing you the dog healing and following, that's what dog training is all about, right? We're not looking to destroy a dog. We're looking to get the required behavior through discipline and gameplay. And yet the positive only movement gang throw the discipline side into the bin and say, you cruel bastards. Anybody who doesn't use positive, Raisin Tours just mentioned it, hasn't he? He was in the group. He didn't like the group. He's got every right to leave the group. He's got every right to write an opinion. I'm not against his opinion, but I'd like to debate it. But then when I've read what he says, those are the people that are causing the shit for everybody else. Because what did Nick say? What did he say? Prognosis. He said assessment conclusion was technical in dog terms, just taking the piss. Technically, the dog is just taking the push. It's ruling the place. It's ruling the place. So let's go back to Rizwan. Let's go back to Rizwan for a second, and let's press on that look and go into his website. He's got a website. Well, he's got a web page. Our dogs, we raise all our dogs in the house. No kennels for our dogs. Raising them in the house gives unique opportunity to evaluate them for good household companion dogs. We pamper our dogs. They ride with us. They sleep on our couches, our beds when possible. We take them with us on vacation. Nothing wrong with that. Well-standard dog in the field, a great companion. There is more problem dogs that get so much love and attention in the house. And I would rather be talking about addressing those issues than letting a dog in a kennel come out and spend time training with you and being with you and socializing with you. More dogs are ruined by over socialization and pampering to every whim and treat training to the point that you bore them shitless and they switch off. And then when the temptation becomes, the value becomes higher than the temptation of the food, the temptation is higher than the food, then the dog says, bye-bye, I'm not listening. I've done all that shit when I was a puppy. You think I'm gullible? Do you think I'm stupid? And then they start pushing boundaries. How many people in our group do you see come in with a dog out of control, and then we start putting it right and we start building on it? We start building on that behavior. Do we go straight in with obedience? You tell me, everybody. Do we go straight in with obedience, or do we start to tap into gameplay and then build the obedience? Or do we go straight in with obedience and knock the stuffing out the dog and say, right, I've suppressed the behavior. There you go. Off your trot. You've got a good dog. So there you go. I don't know what you think, everybody. Recycling something is really useful. That one's got me. I don't know what that means.
Because Julian said dog behaviorist, and Graham said Julian squirrel behaviorist, and Julian said squirrel stuffer.
yeah.
So Ian come back and said, just recycling do something really useful.
Honestly, I can't keep up with this lot. Gameplay first. There you go. And so we tap into gameplay first, but they don't want to talk about that. They only want to talk about the discipline, because it's easy to throw somebody under the bus on the big wide world web, isn't it? It's so easy to throw somebody under the bus. And I think that if you're going to come out with comments and you make those comments and put your head above the parapet, then you've got to be prepared to be shot at. As simple as that. As simple as that. And so It's not having a go at Raisin. At the end of the day, he came in, he said he's learned some good stuff from me. Now he's telling me, go and study this guy. He's a positive trainer. Has he found God or something? I can't say that in America, can you? They're very, very religious, aren't they? Don't talk about religion in America. Hallelujah. What next? Anyway, on that note, does anybody want to ask any questions or test my knowledge? Go on, test my knowledge. Which church did he go to? Dale's church. The Church of Dale.
Another video coming.
Another video coming? Where's that?
You mentioned his name.
Oh, no, we mentioned Dale. Shit. I've mentioned him for ages. I've moved on. So, has anybody got any questions? Because I've now ranted for 30 minutes. And when I say ranted, I just had a little bit of light entertainment, and I wanted to give somebody a platform. I don't like talking about somebody without giving them a platform. But isn't it funny? Have you booked the boot and show for the 29th of May? What show?
Boot and show. It's called the boot, not the boot and show. It's just called the boot, Ian.
It's called the boot. The shoe, he says. No, it's not called the shoe. It's called the boot.
Just the boot.
You don't have to book for the boot. You just turn up. You might have to sit there for a few hours before you get your food, but you don't have to book it. And it's all cooked on the day, innit? It's lovely, innit? Okay, so any questions other than Ian's question? No questions?
No, but Michael McLaughlin said, is there anyone in the positive only side really capable of holding a real debate on the merits or otherwise of their methods? And the question is, and the answer is, obviously, no.
What a great one. I don't know if you all heard that, but Susie did read it out. Is there anyone in the positive only side capable of holding a real debate on merits of otherwise of other methods? Exactly. And that's what I'm offering, isn't it? And that's what I'm offering. I'm offering a platform to have a debate. But where are they? Where are they? I mean, you've got to take your hat off to Nick Gregory, because, you know, Nick's recently started putting up stuff saying all these people telling everything. I'll tell you what, it was funny because let's just go back to that for a second, shall we? If I can find it quickly for you. Honestly, I'm like a mind of information here. Talk amongst yourself for 2 seconds. So let's have a look at the comments. This was funny. Nigel Sweeney, he's a good lad. Taking the piss just about sums it up. What the hell do these so-called behaviors get off on? The dog is a high drive workaholic and needs to be trained to work. Exactly. John Burkett, he's been around for years. He's got pictures of him and the Queen together. I love the term self-employed. So many people are going to dog behaviors and using all the terms you can imagine. But as you rightly said, the dog just needs training, and they can do no better than going to you. But we can all see how dog training has changed. Tell me about it. People go in training, placeboard under one arm, clicker in the mouth, plastic pheasant as a dummy, and a pocket full of treats. All that is required is a lead, a canvas dummy, and not allowing too much independence in the early life. Disagree with him, don't we? We disagree with him. No wonder he had boring dogs. Stop it, Chris. Honestly, you get yourself on one day, you know. Honestly, if you were still on the trial scene, John Burkett would have you freaking sectioned.
It's a question.
In early life, get the basics in before giving them loads of uncontrolled exercise. Well done, Nick. So isn't it funny? John Burkett, old school, likes to suppress the dog before you start. I like to get the drive into the dog and then put the control into the dog. So when I see dogs like Jeff's and I think, Jesus Christ, this dog's got some spirit, I like them dogs. They can be too much for certain people, can't they? So you have to work harder if you're not that way nurtured. But if you want a real steady little dog that's boring, go and train it too soon. Simple as that. Train it too soon.
From Paul Matt.
Go on then, so read it out, because I was on a roll again, but never mind. She keeps stopping me.
Stop.
She did. I did stop. It's her fault. My fault. Anyone's fault. Go on. Go on, darling.
But just ordered a collar and lead from Ray. Thanks for the recommendation. I've got a pup, 5 months old, only doing basic retrieves. When do I start using the lead?
Good question. Good question, Paul. I start putting the lead and the long line on the dog about 6 months of age and letting it just get used to running around with it and retrieving dummies for you, racing out and racing back. We don't want the dog to fear that lead in any way to begin with. We want that dog to see it as part and parcel of life. And then we start conditioning the dog through the lead. But we don't use discipline on young dogs as puppies very often. But on the odd occasion, if you've got a dog and it's really pushing boundaries, you've got to step it up a little bit sooner. But each dog is different and each dog develops different. And some dogs at 6 months. I've had dogs here at 6 months. We did an article where David Tomlinson came down from the Shooting Times, and he came here and he did an article when we first moved here. And this must be 16 years ago now. And I had a 6-month-old dog. He said, can you show us any young dogs? And I took a little 6-month-old dog out. And I took the dog out the back, and he couldn't believe that it was retrieving to hand, coming in, doing everything really cleanly, and it was sharp, and it wasn't running around and going, here, come here, wait, stay, because the dog was so forward of himself. I pushed him a little bit. Well, that dog became a great dog, but not a brilliant dog. But at 6 months, he looked like a little superstar because they change. The same as kids going to university. Some kids will struggle in university. Some kids will struggle in school early days and really do well in university. Some will go fly through everything. And all dogs are different. And as soon as you start using human intervention with the dog, I don't mean socialization. I mean intervention, like you sit, you stay, you wait, you bore the dog shitless, you turn the dog off. And sometimes you can't turn some of those dogs on. So what would you rather have? Would you rather have, and let's ask everybody in the group who's in the Patreon group, if you could answer this for everybody. You've been watching a series of videos with an 18-month-old cocker belonging to a lovely couple, black cocker that had no drive, no desire, and no eye contact for the owners at all, wouldn't retrieve, and was clearing off. But would you rather work with that sort of dog, 18 months, or would you rather work with a dog with a bit of drive and a bit of desire? Give us your opinion. Come on, give us your opinion. Come on, Susan, you'll have to tell me what they're saying. Has everybody left? Peter Piper. Jeff's dog, says Graham Harrison. Give me Jeff's dog compared to that. A bit of drive for Denver, the latter, drive. Exactly. So it's really important. It's really important to me that I like a dog with drive. I like naughty dogs because naughty dogs, you can normally bring them back and put them into a situation to turn them into fantastic dogs. Give me a naughty dog all day long compared to a dog that's got no drive, no desire, doesn't want to retrieve. Right, I'd rather have that dog that wants to pull, that dog that wants to push boundaries, because I know I can bring it back easy. That doesn't mean I can't train the softer dogs, but we have to tap into more gameplay before we even think about start using discipline. Because you use too much discipline on one of them dogs, you'll dry them up for months. As simple as that. Prefer drive, says Robert Knight. Robert McKnight. I'm going to tell you guys what he said to me. This is funny. He is such a funny character. Remember, he was waiting for for Ray's lead to turn up, wasn't he? Right. And he was saying to everybody on the Sunday live feed that he's waiting for Ray's lead to turn up. And then he put up a thing saying he had to pay 20 euros or so, 25 euros tax on it. And Ray contacted it. Ray made a comment today, say, well, that's your own fault because Spain's in Europe. Ray is so British, isn't he? With Brexit. Anyway, so Robert sent me a message and I was tired. I got to admit, sometimes I get tired because Robert doesn't realize that I am dealing with probably 30 or 40 people at the same time, whether it's Messenger, whether it's emails, whether it's inquiries on the phone, whether I'm tapping into. Hear her in the background. Can you hear what she's doing in the background? I was on a flow then. So Robert says, this is what I get. 20:09. That's only 9 o'clock, isn't it? At night, isn't it?
No, 9 minutes past 8.
9 minutes past 8. That was early. Tried Ray's lead today. It wasn't a magic wand, which didn't surprise me. Gave him a couple of corrections. He still pulls his nose to the ground, though. Can one overdo the corrections? Less being more. And I got to confess, this is what I said to Robert. Robert, I need a few days off. You're very challenging. Nothing is done instantly. I don't fail very often, but you may be the exception. Now, I've got a sense of humor. Robert could have taken that in the wrong way, but he could take it any way he wants, for all I care. So he said, this is what he said. This is funny. Sorry, I'll back right off now. No more questions. And it's been like heaven for the last 3 days. Anyway, he said, just watching your Ray's Magic Lead video. Ha ha ha. Lovely. I'm so glad my misunderstood message has provoked you to do this video. It didn't provoke me to do the video, but I just added it in for you, Robert, to show you that Ray's Magic Lead is brilliant if you learn to use it and learn to master it. It's no different than that e-collar. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to fuck your dog up. You're not going to fuck the dog up with Ray's Magic Lead. You're just not going to get the desired effect. And you could say, well, as long as I'm not turning the collar right up, and I wouldn't do that because I love my dog, well, you can still fuck your dog up because you need to know when to use it, how to use it, when to use the settings on it. And at the end of the day, I don't think the e-collar is for everybody. And I think that the easiest way to train a dog for certain things is an e-collar, because you don't need to get your time into such a degree that it takes months and months to master. If you watch a good horse person with reins, they're talking to the horse with the reins all the time. If you watch a jockey and he's in the stalls with the horse, where he's holding the reins and where he's holding the mane of the horse just before it comes out the stalls, and how he excites that horse to come out the stalls with the gallop, not to take off and not stop, but to get out and stay up with the other group of horses. It's magic. When you watch somebody doing it who knows what they're doing, it's majestic. It's the same as watching a horse whisperer or somebody working a horse with a line and using pressure and release in exactly the same way as what we're trying to teach you with your dog, Robert. It's wonderful. And I like Robert, don't get me wrong, but Robert can be a headache sometimes, and we're all different. And I think to myself, am I too up front? Am I too forward? Because if we lost Robert tomorrow, I'm sorry, Robert, that you're offended, but I speak my mind.
Robert says, because I don't have your experience, that's why I asked if the corrections could be always done.
Yeah, no problem at all, Robert. I understand. But guess what? If I show correction to a dog like Jeff's dog, and I did, you could get other people going, that ain't dog training. But if somebody did that to a soft dog, Robert, they'd knock it back to Stone Age. So each dog is different. And you made a comment about when Jeff's dog left the place board because I was making that silly noise, making or whatever it was. Not that noise, was it? And then throwing the retrieve, and the dog kept coming off the place board. We wanted to put the dog under pressure to go wrong, to put him right, to teach him just because you make that noise doesn't mean you can come off the place board. So we're pairing it with the visual, the verbal, and the movement. And we're adding all those behaviors in sequences. And we're building up the behavior that we want by putting the dog under pressure. And you've got trainers out there going, you should never be putting the dog under pressure. And you should never force the dog to do something. The dog should choose to want to do it. I've seen all these people. And I keep saying to them, and I will continue saying to them, put up your videos and show us how you do it. As simple as that. I think you have given the best advice to many of us. Watch more of your videos as they will answer most of our questions. Exactly. Visually, most people can get it if you keep it in what we call layman's terms, in simple format. By keeping it simple and making it simple for the dog understands it, and the average person understands it. But what you've got to do is, there is no tool on the market that is magic. The reason we call it Ray's Magic Lead is it can be used in so many ways during your training. Whether you want good control, and you could say, I don't want a gun dog, I want good control, I want what you people want, but I don't want a gun dog. Well, if you've got desire to retrieve, and you can try out a retrieve and send that dog and he's racing out at flat out, and you can blow the stop whistle and the dog just parks its backside, do you think it's done that magically? Or do you think you've had to train it? You've had to train it. And you can't do it in one session. You have to build it up in stages. Like everybody in the group that you watch the videos that they put in, multifunctional, says Julian. Me or Sue? She was multifunctioning today, Julian. She was out bending over, picking up weeds today in the garden. And I looked at her from behind and I thought, she don't look 65.
That's because I'm not, thank you.
How old are you?
I'm not saying.
She's 66. There you go, everyone. 66. Ray's Lead, multifunctional. Yes, that's. I thought you meant Sue then for a minute, Jules. She is multifunctional, Sue. She has got other uses. She can do dishes. She can make beds. She makes a fantastic chambermaid.
Pick up after you.
Pick up after me. 69. Stop it, Jules. He's off again. Look, 69. He has to think about things like that, doesn't he?
Dirty old man.
Dirty old man, she says, Jules. She said, you're a dirty old man. Where's her curly whirly? Where's me flake?
I was just going to say that.
See that, like mine. Michael I love the fact that my dog will respond to many levels: voice, whistle, hands, movement achieved through the real training. Exactly. Obviously, an officer like myself worries about being too hard in the correction, as I don't want to send the dog back to Stone Age, as you say. It's fear on my part of going too far.
Exactly.
I totally understand, Robert, but unfortunately, sometimes a short, sharp correction at the right time will change your dog's mindset in everything else it does to you. And then when you have to ask it to sit, you only have to say it once. And when you ask it to come in, you only have to say it once, because you've reinforced a command. And I keep saying to people that what happens, Robert, is you've joined Patreon. You've been in Patreon for a month now. Just give us a quick insight, Robert, in here, because you like chatting, you like making comments. Just give us a quick insight. Do you think you've had value for money for your month that you've been in the group? So you've been on Corleone Talk, and you've been in Patreon, you've been on the live feed on a Sunday night, you've joined in on a Wednesday night on the live feed on YouTube. So that was short and sweet, Robert. Normally we have a freaking essay. Being an English teacher, or was he English teacher? I'm not sure. So thanks, Robert. I think it's important, because at the end of the day, all you've lost, Robert, if you feel that you're not getting nowhere, or you're not gaining a group of people, all with like-minded, want to get the same result, a well-trained dog, you can come out, can't you, and not pay for next month. And then you haven't lost a lot, have you? I've not asked everybody to pay, £1,000 up front for a 25-week course, and then I'll give you a certificate. Or I've not said to you, listen, join for £25 and you can ask me as many questions as you like, and there's 3 million of you, and I'll answer every question, because I'm a one-man band and I can do that on an easy basis, answer every question for you. But you all have to pay £25 each for a membership. But I guarantee I'll give you a certificate to say that you've started dog training and want to become an enrolled member of the Canine Society, and this proves that you should be able to teach people because you've been on a course. Honestly, the world's gone freaking mad, isn't it?
He says, I'm not even thinking about the money, Chris.
He's loaded, that boy. He's freaking loaded. That Robert is loaded. I know he's loaded. You know what? Because some of his paintings look a bit like Van Gogh, innit? Van Gogh. And I think that they're very valuable. I think he sits there, the dog sits at his feet, and he's painting away with his oils. And the artistic people are creative, aren't they? And he's definitely affecting my brain. Robert is.
Michael McLaughlin says, I find if you put in an early correction in training or on a hunt day, you get a real concentrated dog.
Exactly. And that was the whole point about Jeff's dog. We used a correction on that dog. And I'll be totally honest with you. And I put it up in the group, and we'll share it in the group in the higher tiers. For one reason, education. Because Jeff's dog came out the car like Raging Bull. He pulled up, he took the dog out of the car, he put it on the Ray's Magic Lead, and I fell off my freaking chair. He put it on the floor and told the dog to sit. But the dog jumped out. He told it to sit. He told it to sit 3 or 4 times. It didn't sit. He then let the dog get away with not sitting. Then nearly dropped nearly slammed the door into his dog box with not frustration, but like impatience, really. And that wasn't being nasty. And I just sat there thinking, oh God, we're gonna have to work on that. And then he walked across to me, and the dog saw me, the guy who disciplines him, and the dog was pulling like a banshee, like coming across to me to say hello. He loves me. Now, if you watch the video that I put up that's nearly an hour long, you'll see that when I took over and was giving the dog the verbal cues and the retrieves, the dog persona dropped and he surrendered to me. That's not because he fears me. That's because when I raised my voice, he went, oh, you're not happy. When Jeff raises his voice, he takes no notice. And once Jeff masters that, like Michael McLaughlin says, a number of things on corrections work. Verbal, but you're not nagging all the time. Visual. Jeff was learning to use visual. We were cutting out the talk. He was visually making that dog watch him for the next command. Getting eye contact through gameplay, not getting eye contact through discipline. And yet, you'll see in the video of the people in the higher tiers of exactly what I said about what I would have done taking the dog out the back of the car. Jeff put himself in that situation to fail. He did fail. The dog won. And what we do in this group, we show warts and all. I could have cut that video and not shown that. And everyone else thinks, freaking hell, what a difference between last month and this month. And yet we've been working on heel work, and Jeff let that dog own him in that situation. So we got to go back to that. But Jeff says when he takes the dog out into an area the dog knows it's been before, it goes, we're in heel work, and it behaves itself because I'm not there and it's not trying to pull towards me. I totally understand that. I have that same effect on so many women.
Well, Leanne said,
Leanne, eh?
Leanne Vine said he respects you.
Exactly, Leanne.
And Gary says it's because you've shown leadership.
Exactly. And that's what we're saying to Robert. Your dog will respect you and show you as the boss when you start showing leadership. Leadership does not come through bullying. Leadership does not come through harsh corrections all the time. Leadership comes through the correction at the right time. The punishment has got to fit the crime. As simple as that. But no one else wants to talk about that because it's like society, isn't it? MPs don't want to talk about they watch porn. And yet they watch porn in the House of Commons. Disgraceful, isn't it?
Well, Julian says dogs work out every human within a short space of time.
Without fail, Julian, dogs do work out humans faster than humans work out dogs. And yet the dog has only got the capacity of a 3-year-old. So what does that tell you about some people? Thick. She's terrible, isn't she, everyone? She's on a roll tonight, isn't she? Thick. Honestly, she's terrible. I'm the thick one. I'm dyslexic. But I think on a simple format. I didn't call anybody thick. Honestly, you can see what she doesn't train people, can't you? Honestly, we were drinking too early tonight. Straight talking Sue, says Richard Code. Lynn, stop laughing. Stop encouraging her. She's getting worse, isn't she? Since we've got no haters on here, she's getting worse. She used to hide, didn't she, when we had haters? Now they're thick. Straight talking Sue. Just spend a day, say nothing at all to your dog. Dog knows us better than we know them exactly, Karen. You're dead right. You're dead right. You're dead right. And that's the whole point about the group. The group learn from each other. The group, well, sometimes they learn from each other. Sometimes some of the lads go off and do tests and stuff like that and then don't want to talk about it. But we won't mention any names. Oh, I had to get that one in, did I? You bitch, Upton, you bitch. Did you hear about that, Karen? Did you hear about the three amigos? We won't talk about it.
Kieran says, just spend a day and say nothing at all to your dog. Dogs know us better than we know them, and it's harder than you think to spend a day saying nothing.
I bet many of you who watched the Jeff video when Jeff disappeared thought that dog's not going to sit there for 2 minutes without moving, and especially of me throwing dummies around as well. As an English teacher, despite your self-confessed dyslexia, it's about time you learned the difference between your and your. Laugh out loud, you bastard. You bastard, Robert. It's payback time, isn't it? You bastard, Robert. Honestly, you're going to have to educate me in a simple way, Robert, because my brain thinks on a simple level. When I was 16, I couldn't spell bed. I knew what a bed was, Robert, but I couldn't spell it because being dyslexic, I used to get my B's and D's back to front. So a teacher was absolutely brilliant. They got a piece of paper and they said, what you got to do is draw a bed. And they drew a bed head and they drew the pillow and then they put the sheet across and then they did the other end of the bed. And from that day, Robert, I can spell bed because it was given to me in a simple format. You don't realize how difficult it is when somebody suffers from dyslexia, especially when someone sends you message after freaking message and you have to talk to your iPad when you're typing it back out to you, Robert, instead of thinking, I hope I got the spelling right because he's an English teacher. So blame the freaking iPad because they don't know what your and your is.
Or the American spelling.
Or the American spelling. I don't know nothing about the American spelling. Oh, there was something the other day. I thought they've missed an E on that. It must have fallen off the building. And I thought, no, it must be the way they spell it in America. I am getting better. Over the years, I've got slightly better. I can spell mattress as well now. Does Robert mark your replies? If he did, I'd be at the back of the class. I'd have a dunce's hat on, wouldn't I? I said I'm autistic, not artistic, Robert. Stop it.
I like Paul Crocker. Brilliant.
Brilliant. It's a brilliant situation to be in. You need to learn not to exaggerate, laugh out loud. What about a bed? No, really, I couldn't spell bed. It's actually brilliant. Says Julian Paul. It's actually brilliant. Stop it, you lot. Honestly, he'll be giving us he'll be giving us lines. Remember when you used to get lines? I shall not be an idiot ever again. I shall not be an idiot ever again. I said, why do I need to say it 50 times? I thought you only say one command and they mean it. Long way to throw a board rubber. Yeah, this is it, Richard. This is it. Throwing a board rubber at you. Remember that? Remember that in the class? Missiles used to come from the teacher, didn't they? Used to throw chalk at you as well, didn't they? Hey, can't throw chalk at a black guy in this class, can you, these days?
I remember mine.
You'd be in trouble, wouldn't you?
Exercise books, and I just let mine hit the floor.
I was talking to someone today. Was it today or yesterday? Oh, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said the teachers aren't even allowed to shout at the kids in the class, and they're being filmed, and they got cameras in all the classes, and if there was a dispute or something, they can go back to the camera. Jesus Christ, imagine a camera in the day when I was in school. Jesus Christ, we'd all be in trouble. The kids would be in trouble. The teachers would be in trouble. It was the Wild Wild West. Now, have I got a hatred towards teachers? No, I haven't, Robert. Experience is hard. School, but fools seldom learn it. Hey, hang on, I'm going to read this bit. I'm going to read this slowly just to make sure I get this bit right. Experience is hard. School, but fools seldom learn it. Lines we had to write in detention.
Experience is a hard school, but fools seldom learn it. Lines we had to write in detention.
I can't see what writing lines freaking did for us, Robert, in the long run. Can you?
No, he's just saying experience is a hard school, but fools seldom.
I wasn't beaten as a child, but my mother was a bit like anti-war, anti-hitting. She was a bit of a hippie like attitude. She's an artist. She's a bit strange. She got this strange side about her that is funny in some ways, but in another way, it was strange growing up as a kid. And having three brothers, no one ever used to own up to anything. And she used to stand us on stools in the kitchen and make you stand there for an hour until somebody had owned up and told the truth. None of us used to own up because no one ever owned up. And so we all used to get punished. So you used to stand us on the stools till one of us couldn't stand on the stool any longer. And did you know what? My old man used to come in and go, "What are they doing?" She said, "Oh, they've been naughty, and one of them's they're not telling me the truth, and they're going to tell me the truth, so they'll stand on the stool until I'm absolutely knackered. I just want to go to bed." Right? But that's torture. That's freaking torture. Right? Standing on a freaking stool in the kitchen in your pajamas. Right. And so I could be affected. I could be affected with stools. I could be worried about stools and pajamas. Could I? Stools, not those sort of stools, different sort of stools. But my dad used to then whack us and send us to bed. I'd rather just have the freaking whack, to be honest with you. The whack was easy because it was over, wasn't it? It was over. But standing you and tormenting the shit out of you, thinking you're going to get freaking three brothers, one of them's going to own up. I could have been traumatized, really, couldn't I? It's the environment I was brought up in, see. I hope you're all feeling sorry for me now. I'm going to get counselling next week.
Question.
I hated school. I never went. No, I didn't go very often. When I finally got caught skipping class, my geography teacher thought I'd left the school. Freaking, did he know where he went being a geography teacher? I'm only after getting a pup, 9-week Springer. When should I start with the tennis ball? Straight away. Get that dog racing out. And you know what? There's idiots out there going, you shouldn't be using the ball for a dog. You shouldn't be using retrieving for a dog and sending a dog away from you. I only went on wet days. Peter Piper, I only went on wet days. Why wet days? Oh, do you mean Wednesdays? You got your spell right. Wednesdays. Why only wet day? I only went on wet days. Is that because you go on then?
The sun was shining. He was out doing something else.
All right. So you didn't have a waterproof coat then?
Not in Peter's day.
You couldn't go around the girlfriend's house where her mother and father was at and stay in there for the afternoon. Honestly, Peter, rainy days, he says, wet days. Mr. Gardner had a glass eye. Oh my God, here we go. This gets worse. And would look at the class and say, "Spit out your gum." And as no one knew who he was looking at, everyone spat out the gum. He had a glass eye. You only had one glass eye. Couldn't you see through the other one? I don't know, honestly. When you think about it, when you actually think about it, what, if you went back, I mean, don't forget, I'm 60, so I'm not a dinosaur. I think Robert's 70. He could tell us even more. He remembers going to school and it was black and white, right? And so, when I was at school as a youngster, it was very sort of Victorian when I first went, and then it got softer and softer, and then they went into these free schools where you could tell the teachers to fuck off, and some of the naughty kids got sent to free schools. Well, those schools didn't work big time. And then they tried to bring back in the short, sharp punishment, didn't they? The short, sharp punishment. And then Maggie Thatcher come in and closed all the factories and said, don't worry about, they says, before she closed the factories, don't worry about jobs, because there'll always be jobs for factory workers. So I thought, well, there'll always be a job for me. I get a factory job. Well, I remember when I left school at 16, going for interviews, and there was 300 people in a queue for a factory's labourer's job. 300 people. Not being funny, I ain't standing in no queue. 300. I've never had the patience for standing in a queue for 10, let alone 300. So you used to get there for the job interview, see the queue and go, that's not happening. So I used to have to go down the job centre, and I couldn't read the jobs on the cards. On it used to be on the outside of the like in the window, and you used to go in and you used to say if you couldn't read it, I couldn't read it. I used to have to ask people to read what was offering for jobs. And at the end of the day, if you've got no education behind you, but your mother says, don't worry, it doesn't matter that you're dyslexic, you can go out there and make a name for yourself, you can go out and make earn a good living, you can do anything you want in life. It's a bit of a culture shock when you freaking realize without education you're up shit creek without a paddle when you're 16 and nobody wants to give you a job. So all you got was labourers' jobs at that point, labourers' jobs. And so it's a funny thing how life evolves and things change, because I now think education is far more important than I've ever thought, even at this age now. I'm so hungry for education. I'm so hungry to listen to good debate, but I'm not easily fooled. And to be honest with you, we wasted so much time, and Robert might be able to help me out here, with religion at school. That's not really helped me. Logarithms and tossing. Remember that? Remember that? Logarithms? Remember it? Honestly. Anyway, on that note, I bet you're all freaking bored, aren't you?
What's tossing?
What's... She doesn't know what tossing is. Working out percentages.
All right.
What, logarithms and what's the other one? Was it called? Who remembers what those things are?
Fraction?
No. Law of averages of tossing. When you toss a coin, you used to toss a coin up and down, and see how many times it would go heads and how many times it would go tails, and what are the percentages of this and the percentages of that. And I used to think, tossing? That's the only subject I know about. Michael McLaughlin, education is fantastic, but will never trump hard work. My cousin is dyslexic and he's a mechanic. Brilliant, but can't get qualified or pay qualified because he can't write the test. Exactly, Denver. And you know what? I can tell you, when I was younger, I'd been told by that many people I was thick. I believed it. But as I got older, I realized common sense is an asset, right? We talked about common sense before. We won't go into it too deeply. But I think that education is a really important thing. And I think if you want to be good at something, you've got to educate yourself. And I really appreciate the fact of education. But at the time, because of the way I thought and the way I could soak up the knowledge, like Denver says, practical, I was good at. I wasn't bad at making cakes. I wasn't bagging cookery class. I enjoyed cookery class, and I've always enjoyed cooking. I've taken engines out and rebuilt cars, but I've done it on the Haynes manual. Is a freaking nightmare. All I used to get on the Haynes manual is oil. Right? I was more interested in watching someone do it than I could do it, because I'm visual. And so with my videos, that's what I thought was important. I thought to myself, helping other people, if you can visually put it out there, they've got a visual idea to watch and copy. And that's what I thought would take off. And that's why I pushed the YouTube the way I did. And that's why it became so popular. And I'm proud of what I achieved with YouTube, but we've moved on. And I'm very proud of the Patreon group. And I'm proud of the people in the group. And I'm so proud of the like-minded people. Not everybody's in the group for the same reason. And you don't need to be in the group for the same reason. There can be people in that group who just want an obedient dog. There can be people in that group who want a competition dog. There can be people in the group who just want a little shooting dog. But it's a great group. There's hardly ever any fallouts. And going back to Ray's on tour, if he's still listening, because I bet he thought, shit, I'm going to get a bash in here. So he came in on Messenger and gave me that message. Not out to bash you. I was really looking forward to having a live feed and debating with you and letting everybody else listen to a debate of two people having a difference of opinion. And I think that's far more important in today's society, where people haven't got tolerance to have a difference of opinion but still can remain friendly. Too many people want to throw somebody under the bus or be so nasty and not worry about ruining their lives and ruining their careers, ruining their families. You know, people take their lives on the internet with hatred and the shit that people peddle. And I just thought to myself, I want the group in Patreon to run smoothly. If you don't like it, piss off. Simples, right? I'm being direct, but I'm being truthful. But I like the group the way it is. I think the group works well. People are entitled to give their opinions. You can disagree, you can agree. You can say why you agree, why you disagree. It doesn't need to be a bitch fight. It doesn't need to be getting at people, thinking you're better than others. Everybody in that group is equal, whether you're struggling and you've got a little dog that's a nightmare, or whether you've got the best dog in the group. Everybody reaches out and helps each other, and that doesn't happen very often in society these days, does it? And so isn't that a testament in itself for everybody in the group?
I think the group works well because the ones that's been in there a while, being where that person who's just come in is at some point or other, aren't they? So they've got more empathy and compassion for that person, haven't they, really?
Yeah, I mean, Karen says family in our group from all backgrounds of the country. Yeah, common sense thing. Today's unfortunate. I'm a tactile learner twist too, says Gary. Social media to blame for polarization. Yeah, I disagree. I don't disagree. I agree with you 100%, Richard. This is the problem, and this is important. Peg dog and competition for me, says Lynn, and that's what it's about. At the end of the day, my specialist subject is competition dogs because I went to that level. But at the end of the day, your bread and butter is helping people with problem dogs. It's as simple as that. And Nick Gregory will have exactly the same situation. His bread and butter stuff will be helping people with problem dogs, and he's putting it up and showing you, and he's talking it in a sensible way. I like people who say it the way it is. I don't like people, and I bet you there's things that me and Nick could disagree with. Simple as that. But at the end of the day, I like the fact that people say it the way they see it. And I'd rather know that person for what they are than somebody trying to pretend there's something they're not. That to me is important, everyone. So on that note, we've gone over tonight 1 hour and 13 minutes and 15 seconds. So Robert, you've had 13 minutes and 17 seconds for free tonight.
Well, you did say
you've had it all for free tonight.
You did say a word out. Where is it?
Julian, stop trying to confuse the dyslexic person. Polarization is the Earth getting? It means the Earth is getting colder.
Robert did say, "I'll give you spelling classes free if you answer my dog queries." Laugh out loud.
Robert, do you know what this means?
But you have a computer now, do you?
Robert, to me, Shakespeare was a genius, but I still think he was dyslexic because he missed out a lot of freaking words like spoken the English way, and I think that he let it flow. And years ago, Robert, I had a poetry teacher, best teacher I ever had, and he said, "What you got to do?" He says, "You're not stupid." He says, "Everyone tells you you're stupid, but you're not stupid. You're creative." Oh, hear this, Robert. Hear this. Got to be creatives coming on here, don't I? Really, if you think about it. Right. Oh, he said, "Write what you feel, and then we'll sort the spelling out afterwards. And then your mind will flow better, and you'll get on paper what you want to put on paper instead of saying Jack and Jill didn't take the pill." and Jill got up the club, because that was the books I was reading when I was 16. Not pornography. They were all pictures. It was all to do with the basic books. You were still reading basic books. The school system failed me. But did they fail me? Because they didn't know what dyslexia was at the time. But guess what? The class sizes, the lack of desire from teachers, not wanting to help pupils, you could argue the teachers failed me. At the end of the day, I think I'm entitled to compensation, really, Robert. And I wonder if you could help me try and claim compensation from the government for all the years that I've struggled and not being able to move forward and make a name for myself. But I live in a bubble, and that bubble's quite a happy bubble, actually, although I bitch now and again. It's an happy bubble because I'm in a happy place. I enjoy the job I've got. I earn good enough money to survive. Money's not everything. Look what Fury has said. Money is not everything. It's all right when you got it, though, isn't it? And you can afford £160,000 electric Porsche. There's no one this way if I'd be buying a £160,000 electric Porsche if I was loaded like Fury. But everyone to their own. But what I'm saying is, I've never looked back and gone, I was ill-treated, badly treated. I've got a chip on my shoulder. I'll never trust this. I'll never trust that. What you get out of life is what you put into life. And if you reach out and chase your dreams, sometimes they'll work, sometimes they won't. But as long as you're chasing your dream and you're enjoying it, then that's more important, isn't it? At the end of the day, I'm now looking forward for the first time in my life, hoping that I go another 10 years. And in 10 years' time, I've built myself a nice pension pot. But I've never looked forward before. I've lived in the moment. And I think that's where the dogs live. They live in the moment. And they don't suffer from as much baggage as people try and make out. Anyway, on that note, love you all. Gonna say goodbye. Gary Marriott says got a few days off. Hoping to do a few videos with his pup. Great feed tonight, Chris, Mr. and Mrs. Upton. Thanks, everybody. Dyslexia rules okay, says Paul Cocker. There you go. Stand up and own it, I say. Stand up and own it. But the question is this, Robert. Why use the word dyslexia for somebody who's dyslexic? Why didn't they just use it? Call it it. He's got it problem or a problem. Because it would have been so simple, wouldn't it? But a and it is already a word, isn't it? Bollocks, great chat. Nice to talk to you all. I've been on a roll tonight for some reason. I'm not been too well too good. Anyway, on that note, good night all. Good. Have you said good night, Sue?
Yes.
Oh, she's off. She's off to bed. Catch you all. Thanks a lot. Cheers. Good night.